Hey everyone. Is it too loud? It's okay? Perfect. I'm hearing myself really loud right now. So let me first quickly introduce myself. My name is Asya, and I have over 10 years of experience in product management. Just a few months ago, I joined Kraken, one of the largest cryptocurrencies exchange in the world, to lead their growth through retention and engagement. By the way, I'm hiring senior PMs, so if you want to work on the topic that I would share today, please reach out. But before Kraken, I was at Wise, leading their product-led growth, where we successfully lead 70% of user acquisition through word of mouth and through different strategies and mechanics that I would like to share with you today. But enough about me. First, we need to understand that we now live in a very fast-changing environment. For example, I live in London and I was invited to come to Berlin to speak with you all today. Just a few years ago, I would go to Google and ask what to do in Berlin. I would go through some websites and most probably end up buying a tour that was so skillfully placed through paid ads on top. But today I didn't even went to Google. I went directly to ChatGPT. I asked what to do in Berlin, received my personalized itinerary. I skipped visiting any websites. I didn't see any paid ads. So when you work in growth, this is what you need to understand. Paid acquisition always change. Channels change, mechanics change, costs rise constantly. And if you rely on it to achieve growth, you would end up chasing the next trick. So I started to think what we can do differently. When I think about all the successful companies that I know today, they didn't win because they outspent competitors on ads. They win because customers spread the word about them. So, for example, Notion. I remember I discovered Notion when I was going on a trip. Organizers shared the itinerary in Notion. I thought, oh, wow, that's such a cool way to create and share docs. I've been using it ever since. So Notion was designed for organic growth. Every shared template was free word of mouth. Just in a year, they grew from 4 million to 20 million customers. All they claim that 95% of this growth came through word of mouth, mostly driven by these shared templates. Let's think about Spotify. Most of my friends were using Spotify to share music, create playlists. I think I was basically forced to become a Spotify user just to be part of this activity. So Spotify was designed for network effects. If you click a button create on Spotify, 3 out of 4 options would be to do something with friends. Mostly because of that, Spotify grew a million times. Now they're like 650 million customers, and this growth is largely driven by social features. And of course, can't say nothing about Wise, right? So I remember I was living in Turkey, and I was struggling to send money back home. One of my expat friends recommended Wise and shared the referral link. I got a discount to try the Wise out. It was really nice experience. I loved the referral because it seemed to be like a genuine favor and not an ad. And obviously, I'm a customer ever since, and even started to work in Wise afterwards. So just in 2023, Wise acquired 10 million customers. 70% of them came through word of mouth, and specifically 20% of Wise acquisition comes through referrals. So here's the catch. Products I still use today are the ones that I discovered through word of mouth. Despite rising competition and noisy marketing, these companies stood out and achieved number one positions because they were built for word of mouth. And nowadays, in the world full of noise and paid ads and AI shifting standards, word of mouth is important as ever. And today, I'd like to show you how you can achieve same growth for your companies. First, I would like to share that word of mouth is actually quite buildable and doable. And then I want our talk to be as impactful as possible, so I can show you how you can achieve immediate impact through referrals. So word of mouth is actually science and not just pure luck. I remember when I was first tasked with the goal, grow through word of mouth, I was puzzled. What is word of mouth? It's someone somewhere tells someone something about your product. How do you control it? How do you measure it? How do you influence it? It's kind of like a pure dark matter of growth. But after a while, I did a lot of research, ran tons of experiments, and I found out that word of mouth is actually quite buildable. Let's look through a set of examples. Coming back to Spotify. Imagine your friends sharing songs from Spotify on Instagram. Even if you're not a Spotify user, you became aware that Spotify exists and that your friends prefer it to listen to music. In Wise, if your friend sends you money from Wise, even if you're not a Wise customer, you would receive an email saying that you received money through Wise and how much money your friend was able to save with us. Thousands and thousands of messages like that go out every day. People around Wise customers became aware that Wise exists and about its benefits. And that happened without us spending any money on building brand awareness. So here's the first trick. To grow through word of mouth, you need to invest into organic recommendations. They happen when customers notify others about your product simply by using it. So think now about your products. What features can you build so when your customers would use your product, they would automatically notify others about it? Let's look at another set of examples from fintechs. Let's start with Revolut. They built this cool feature called Split the Bill. For example, you go to the restaurant, you pay for the bill with friends, you split it within the app, and your friends can very easily pay you back. Or Monza, they took it to the next level. They created group management of expenses. For example, you and your friends or your roommates, you create a group of expenses. Everyone pulls together expenses related to the flat, and you can easily pay each other back. On Wise, we implemented a feature that made it super easy for customers to request money from someone within the app. Just in one click, you sync your contacts. In one click, you can request money or share a public link. So all these features together made it quite beneficial for customers to invite their friends because the product becomes more useful for them when others join. So another trick to grow through word of mouth is to build network effect features. By creating features like that, you motivate your customers to invite friends just because the product becomes more useful for them. So think for your products what these features could be, how your customers can benefit from having others use the product too. And final example, Wise built a referral program that offers cash for cash rewards for recommendations, and most importantly, invited customers receive lucrative rewards to try and to try the product out. So Wise managed to turn their referral program into one of the key drivers behind its success. Referrals alone drive 20% of new users each month. So the last feature you need to grow through word of mouth is incentivized recommendations, widely known as referrals. This is when you actively incentivize your customers to invite others to your product. I think now almost every company has a referral program, but they're usually quite hidden and never optimized for their full potential. But if done right, referrals can be one of your main drivers of growth. So this is what you need to grow through word of mouth, and it's actually that simple. You need to build for organic recommendations, network effects, and referrals. So think how your customers can notify others about your product, how customers can benefit from having others use the product too, and what would be the right incentive for them to recommend your product. So now you're probably thinking, "Oh, okay, we got it. But where do we find all these resources to build these features?" I got you guys. I propose you to start with the easiest one and the most impactful one, which is referrals. And here's why. So actually, word of mouth is thriving on referrals. Let's look through a very basic example. Imagine your customer, John, and he really loves your product. You incentivize him to invite friends. He already loves the product. He thinks, why not? Let's do it. He invites his friend and receives a cash reward for that. Actually, John feels so appreciated that you rewarded him for his recommendation that he is much more likely to recommend again. John Friend, on the other hand, received an incentive to try the product out. He loved the whole recommendation experience. He loved the product because it came from someone he trusted. He becomes a loyal customer. John Friend now is much more likely to recommend your product as well because he himself came through recommendation. So just by incentivizing John, you receive 5 of his friends. 5 of his friends bring you 25, and this is how you achieve exponential growth. Sounds too good to be true, right? Let's look through real life example, Dropbox. Back in the day, they built the referral program. So just in 15 months, they grew 40 times. Just from 100K customers to 4 million customers, just through a simple referral program. So here's the catch. Most of the referral programs fail because they're disconnected from customers' journeys. You just simply throw money at your customers, hoping that they would invite friends. Let's avoid doing that and look at the healthy referral recipe. First, and the most important thing, you need to understand why your customers recommend your product and for what. And then you need to build referrals around it. So, for example, in Wise, I talked with the customers and I found out that they actually recommend Wise for travel. And we revamped referral program all around travel. Invite friends to travel, give them a free travel card, earn cash rewards for travel. After the launch, just on the next month, we see a 50% uplift in new user growth coming through referrals just because of that. Another thing that I learned through many products and experiments is that you need to nudge customers to refer as early as possible in their journeys. This is a bit counterintuitive because you think, oh, the longer the customer is with us, the more likely they're to invite and bring others. Unfortunately, it's not true. 80% of customers would invite very early in their journeys. So in the example from Wise that I shared, we were nudging customers to refer when they ordered a travel card themselves or made the first transaction within the app. In food delivery apps, it would be after the first order. In e-commerce, it would be after a first buy. This is when the delight of the customers are the highest, and they're much more likely to invite friends into your product. If you ever go and talk with your customers and ask them, why didn't you invite anyone? They would say, I simply don't have anyone to invite. I don't know anyone. So here's what I learned. In just saying invite friends never work. Customers really puzzle, and this is their automatic reply, sorry, I don't know anyone. But when you give them a clear direction for recommendation, they immediately know who to invite. Again, from the example from Wise that I shared, we were using, your friends are about to travel, invite them to Wise. Or in London, we have a bike service that says to you, are you going to a pub with friends? Give them a 3 minutes so they can get to you. So adding this context, remove the main blocker for customers to invite and gives them a very clear direction. And that improves conversions several times usually. And finally, to make referrals effective, you need to connect them with other word-of-mouth features. So for example, when I share a link on Wise to get paid, there is a referral link attached to it. When I split the bill on Monzo, there is a referral link attached to it. When you connect all your word-of-mouth features together, they start to multiply growth of each other. And this is how you achieve exponential growth. Referrals never meant to be a standalone feature. They always need to be connected with every other social feature in the app to multiply their growth. And finally, obviously, to grow, you need to maintain a healthy economics. Healthy referrals usually managed by payback. So basically, how fast you earn the revenue from invited customers compared to the cost of reward you spend on acquiring them. Healthy is defined by each company themselves. For some, payback should be 3 months, for some a year, for some even few years. But if now your payback is not there, you basically have two levers: either decrease the cost of the reward or to increase the revenue from invited customers. I don't know if you noticed, but lately a lot of companies started to do this variable reward mechanics. Invite friends and get up to something. On a slide, I have examples from Revolut, Robinhood, Monzo. Everyone is doing it right now. Why do you think so? This allows you to continue attracting customers because the rewards seem high, but actually only a small number of customers would ever receive a big reward. So as a result, referrals continue to be attractive, but you significantly lower your reward cost. So here's one of the tricks you can use. When we think about revenue, the key here is to connect rules to get the reward with your retention. So for example, in Wise, we know that we achieve healthy retention, and one of the leading indicators for us is for customers to spend $200 with us. Now, to receive a referral reward on Wise, you need to spend $200. Think about what could be healthy leading indicators and make these rules to receive a referral reward. So that was a successful recipe for referrals. First, and the most important thing, connect referrals to customer journeys. And then nudge customers within their first weeks. Give them a very clear direction for recommendation, and don't forget to connect it with other word-of-mouth features. So, in conclusion, every great company I know didn't rise to the top because they outspent competitors on ads. They succeed because their customers spread the word about them. And the smartest ones didn't wait for that just to happen. They specifically designed for it. If you want exponential growth, build something customers want to talk about and then give them tools to do it. This would allow you to grow by cutting your acquisition cost by tenfold. Otherwise, in rising competition, marketing costs tend to skyrocket, and you may end up simply burn through all your money just to keep up with the competitors. remember, in the world full of noise and paid ads, people still trust people. And now with AI shifting standards, word of mouth becomes more important than ever. That's it. Thank you so much. Follow me on LinkedIn. Talk about growth a lot. Share with me what worked for you and didn't. Always interested to hear your feedback.
Hello. Yeah, seems like. Hey, my name is Daniel. Thanks a lot for the talk. Very insightful. Thanks for sharing all of this. I just wonder the following topic. So, my high-level hunch would be that when you invite, so if you have solid benefits, you can invite a lot of people, right? And for invitations for friends, right? But then it might turn into like bounty hunting. So I just invited 10 friends. I got a lot of benefits. The friends never ever use it. For small benefits, I wouldn't even get up my finger to put a share button. Have you ever compared retention for these people who's been invited and with just acquired by classic marketing or other channels? And how different was it if you ever did it?
Thank you. Very great question. Actually, in my experience, retention for invited customers is always higher than the retention for not invited ones. But I understand, I think your question is not about retention, but more how do you manage, let's say, genuine invites versus abuse. And this is the thing to understand. Referrals are really prone to abuse. 99% of customers would genuinely invite friends, but there would be always this 1% of customers that would do everything to scam you for the reward. So usually, like in my experience, customers would always find the new ways to scam you for the reward. Like you put the blocks and they always find the new ones. In Vice, we even had a specific dedicated team who manually went through rewards and were trying to find the abusive behaviors. And this team kind of paid for themselves. So the amount of abuse they were finding always covered all their salaries. But before we hired the whole team, it's still really important to understand that way when you build the referral program, just try to imagine how you would abuse it and try to put any logs that would make sense. So, for example, the customers have to verify or they have to use genuine phone number that never use. So anything that would, for genuine customers, would obviously work and would not be a blocker for them. But for customers who try to abuse, obviously would be difficult to verify several times with the same password to the product. So I think that's if that's answer your question about abuse, or I can go like another hour on referrals. So I need to stop myself here.
So I have one question about one of the things you said, which is that you need to push for the referral like in the first week, the users for the new users. And I'm wondering, is a week really enough for a user to perceive the value of the product and then be able to really recommend someone else, not just based on the gift or the money? And I had a very like similar experience, I think, with Revolut, where I tried to recommend someone and it was just like the only thing I could think of in the beginning was, okay, you can get money, I can get money for it. But then it wasn't good enough for me to have that, like, or for the user to be retained. But when I started using it often, and then I started like really perceiving the value. I had this claim and they helped me with this. The customer support is great. They have this service. It's very easy to use here. I can pay here and there. And then I can actually have more arguments to invite someone and to actually get them to really use the product and be retained and not just install the app and go through the checklist of how do you get the bonus money. So is 1 week really enough to kind of leverage that value for the person you're referring?
Great question. And I fighted this inside for so long. I was thinking, honestly, I was thinking same as you. Is like, why you first not try my product fully and love it fully, and then you would have all the tools to recommend it. Why you share your referral link so early in the journey? I think here again we have like two things. First, we're talking about thousands of customers, right? So we're working with very big samples here. And on average, most of the customers, they're really excited when they just download the app, they just get verified, they just perform the first job. And for them, this is where emotionally they're at their highest. And that's why, on average, this is when most of the people would convert to referrals, and you obviously need to help them to do that. Another thing is that we use a metric called key factor. This is a metric that helps us to size the virality. Uh, it basically calculates how much one acquired customers, how more customers they would bring you. So to maximize your virality, you need to convert people to referrals as early as possible, because that means that the amount of people who enter the virality system is the largest. So just mathematically, it would bring you much more revenue than converting more loyal customers later on, just because their sample is smaller, not just because they would not recommend your product, just the sample is smaller there. So in general, again, the rule that I usually use is to nudge customers as much as possible during the first months. Even if you're annoying, even if it's too much, still do it, because you would maximize your growth later on. But then obviously don't forget about referrals. They're still a feature in your product, and continue to promote them, but just not as nudgy as during the first months.
Thank you for your talk. I have a question regarding the kind of gift that the customer is getting. So obviously, you have different options of giving them like basically cash. You can give them like a in-store credit or something that they can then use, or basically a deduction of their subscription cost or something like this. Or you can actually give them product benefits, like in your example with Dropbox, for example, where they get like specific GB in data storage or something. Do you have kind of experience or formula when to use what or what works best?
That's a great question, guys. I don't know. Have you prepared for that? In general, again, if we work with just large sample, in B2C products, offering cash would always convert the highest. That's kind of fair, because you share the part of the revenue that you would earn from customers that they invited with the customers who made the invite. And I think that perceived as fair for customers who made referrals as well. That's why it converts the best. But you obviously always need to understand what works best for your customers. So sometimes, for abuse reasons, you maybe can't offer cash and you would have to offer discounts. For some premium products, where cash is no longer an incentive, having something exclusive or getting, I don't know, some access to some feature or some exclusive benefit, or maybe loyalty card, that would be more beneficial. So you always need to check in with customers basically on what would make the most sense for them. Again, in my experience, B2C products offering cash always works the best. But then we need to remember that we always have two customer groups here. First customer group is who makes the invite, and then another one is who joins your product. For them, again, in my experience, offering cash usually quite a bad practice. If you offer a cash for people to try your product, it kind of didn't give a good impression, right? So I usually default to offering different discounts that would support why they came to the product. Again, in Wise, they were coming to travel. So we started to offer free travel card so we could support their job. Before that, it was a free transfer discount. So we would support them making their first transfer. So that automatically, even though that gives them a benefit, but that also automatically increases the retention and love for the product, because they started to experience it core action basically for free. So again, usually works the best, but there are so many products and there are so many customers and customer segments. I just honestly advise you just to go and talk with them and ask what would make sense for them, what would work for them better to adopt your product.
Thank you.
Hello. You've spoken a lot about B2C referral programs, and your examples have been incredible. I was like, hey, I'm a customer there, I'm a customer there, I'm a customer there. Especially the Spotify example was really, really relevant. Anyways, I work in B2B SaaS marketing, and do you have any examples of how this can work when you're basically selling software solutions?
So obviously, most of my experience is with B2C, and I'm honest here. Though I consult a lot of companies, and this is the insights that I got from that. So even if when you sell products to businesses, there is still people working in businesses, and technically there is still a decision maker there. So yes, referrals become more complicated, and they're probably more complicatedly structured, but it's still people referring other people, though now in a business context. Another thing that worked really well for us in Wise when we were launching Wise for Business, when you try to grow business acquisition, it's sometimes really hard to convince businesses recommending something to other businesses. They have so much more barriers. They really fear about their reputation, so they would not make recommendations so easily. But there is group of other businesses who are not your direct clients, but they work with your clients quite closer. For example, accountant firms or real estate agents. They would recommend your product for an incentive, and the risk for them are much less. So, for example, in Wise, we went through that direction. Instead of convincing businesses to recommend Wise to other businesses, we started to target third parties that could be this intermediary for growth. Mm. That's really cool. You said Slack, right? Yeah. Yeah. I think Notion basically did the same, right? Like you have this like kind of freemium experience, and you can invite everyone to this freemium experience, and then you convert them to customers.
Couple years ago, I was quite close to the referrals topic product wise, and something that we've seen was and that we haven't cracked was cultural differences. Like in Brazil, people would just be sharing referral links across any channel that they have with like just the service of part like acquaintance, whereas in Germany, as a counter example, people felt quite iffy, like sharing referral links, referring people, and then ultimately benefiting from it. I'm curious, what's your and we never really cracked the case. I'm wondering, is there a way to crack the case, and what would be your recommendation to like tackle referrals? I guess maybe primarily in markets where people maybe feel less comfortable referring other people, like Germany, because
Great question as well. So in Brazil, referral program in Wise is the most successful market. So I can understand. Yeah, Brazil is usually very prone to receive rewards there. I worked greatly. So yeah, in my experience, again, if you look at the sample size on average, most of the people would be motivated to get the reward and money. But you would still have a very large proportion of people who didn't, either in Germany or just in general. So when we talk with these customers, they're actually quite motivated by helping others. So they do not share the link because there is money component attached to it. So what we usually do, again, early in the journey, we target everyone with money and trying to get as many people in the funnel. But then afterwards, we kind of used analytics to segment their behavior. And for customers who we, by probability, think that they would not invite because of the cash, we switch the referral program and make it very about gifting. And this reward size, we convert it to more giving it to others when you invite. And we use all the comms around help others, give them a gift. You saved money with Wise, now help others save money with Wise. So it's all about like being beneficiary to others. That helps. But yeah, not everyone would share a referral link. That's true.
Um, you shared a few like really great examples with high incentives, like I don't know, 75, whatever, 150. That probably correlates also with the high acquisition costs that these companies can afford. What would you recommend to folks out there which that play like a large scale game, but where the acquisition of one customer and paid channels is much lower? So like, I don't know, €5. Any tips?
So again, when I shared the variable reward example, this is again that comes from that companies usually can't afford paying $75 per customer. That's a lot. But when you offer $5, it's not attractive to anyone, right? So again, this variable rewards where you show very large amount of money, but the probability of getting is quite low. That's one of the solutions. Switching to discounts. Basically, instead of motivating by pure cash, you offer, I don't know, certain fees reduction. Again, some exclusivity. So you try to, instead of money, find something else that could be as attractive, but not as expensive for you. Also, I've seen companies who struggled with getting cash and abuse together, kind of, and they went for revenue share. Again, you invite customers and you receive a fee of this share, and that feels more kind of fair. They see a social graph, they see why they're doing this. But again, in my experience, usually revenue share gives you really small fees. The customers usually assume like, oh, I will get so much money. This customer would transfer millions, but usually it's like $2 fee or something. But still works as a solution to that.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's my last one, I promise. I was wondering how sophisticated the referral program should be when you kind of want to test it out as an MVP, if it is something that is working for your company. I've had it in a past company, I think, where we did it like very low fidelity with like email campaigns and stuff. But it didn't really work out. So I was wondering what is kind of, in your experience, the threshold of how you can test out a referral program? How sophisticated does it need to be?
And can you maybe specify what didn't work for you?
Didn't get referrals.
You didn't get referrals, but I think it's when you said sophisticated. Do you mean that how much technically you should build, or how much you need to spend on creating the first hypothesis?
I think partially technically, because also in the previous talk, it talked about like how you should show the user in what point at what point in the journey they are. So, for example, like, hey, this person just signed up; they are not there yet. They still need to, I don't know, make a money transfer or do a certain valuable action for your business. But of course, building like this kind of technical surrounding is quite costs quite a lot of effort. So I was wondering, at what level can you already test it out?
I honestly think that this is not a question about referral specifically, but about product management, right? Like we always, as product manager, trying to find this balance. How much do we invest engineering effort before we prove the initial hypothesis? So again, it's very dependent on the product. Usually you can have a very shaky referrals without investing much into them. So for example, a lot of things that I shared today, they were more about the time you nudge customers, the communication that you use around it. adding one button on the success screen. So all that is really very easy things that you can do just by vibe coding or something. But then obviously, as soon as you prove the hypothesis and you want to scale, not sure how many customers you have, right? And that you need to understand again that you would be dealing with abuse. You would be dealing with tons of customers who usually, despite no matter what you do, would still contact support asking, where is my reward? So to manage these risks, you would need to start to invest into Rails just for you not to die into manual workload that coming at you. But initially, you can test a lot of hypotheses, just creating a referral screen, the template one with different offers, and just see which one converts more into sharing the link, for example. Already would give you a lot on the direction without much investment. And then as soon as you prove, you can start building the Rails.
Thank you.
Follow-up question to this. So do you do a like proper A/B test, like when you're testing it, or just like throwing it out and looking that?
Yeah, it depends on the size of the company. Obviously, in bigger companies, same as Wise, tons of A/B testing around it, sizing of the reward, of the comms, of the buttons, when and how. So a lot of things that I was sharing today didn't come just by surprise. It's over like really tested. But if you have smaller companies, you don't have a size, you need to move faster. Adding a referral, if the reward is not huge, would not make you much risks, right? If you're not A/B tested and something would went wrong, okay, people would not invite. So like the risks are smaller, so you can move on with more iterative testing, releasing and seeing what happening. And as soon as you have larger sample sizes, risks are becoming higher, and you need to test to optimize the conversion.
Okay. And I actually last question. This was super interesting. So there were super many questions. How was the stage of when you, for example, join Wise or now the new company stage of like how do business leaders see referral?
I get quite lucky, and both Wise and Kraken really understand the importance of referrals. And that means that we have a dedicated product team that is looking over referrals. There is direct engineering. Again, in Wise, there is a specific team who looks over abuse because everyone understands that's one of the most successful key growth drivers. Let's invest more there. Same I actually see in many companies right now. Everyone understands the value of referrals and trying to find their like magical tricks there. So luckily for me, no convincing need to be done. So all good.
Thank you. Thank you for the amazing talk. I have a small gift for you from us, ProductLab.
Thank you so much.
A nice read. And